Welcome to my David Wilson Out and About YouTube channel. Today I'm doing another review on my Bluewave glider. This is the 473 centimetre model, the two-person model. I've done two reviews in the past, the last one being this time last year, last March, and I just wanted to give you an update on how it's been performing over the last year. And in all fairness, I've been out in some quite extreme conditions during the last 12 months, so it'll give you a fair indication 2.5 years in how well this performs and how it's holding up. As well as that, I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks, things that I've found out over the last year that have really helped me out when out on the paddle. So without further ado, let's crack on. Well, one of the first things I want to address is the seat, and this is a question that's coming up quite regularly to me and online, and it's literally about the seat. Even when it's in and adjusted, ready to go, when you're trying to board the kayak, the seat is just sliding back. So literally you're in the kayak, you've had a bit of a wobble, and now you're laying back like that, trying to adjust it, half the time taking in a load of water with you. Obviously, if you adjust the straps quite tight, as I have, it's not going to slide so far back. If you leave it a bit loose, unfortunately, it's literally going to fall flat, and then you're in a bit of trouble. You've got to start thinking about getting out again. I found this the most awkward when trying to enter the craft when I've been going in from a lake. Obviously, then you're going in from a beach area, which sometimes is quite shallow. Then it can go quite deep, and you're trying to get in. The kayak's wobbling, the waves are hitting you, and then the seat is moving all over the place. So what I've done, and this serves two purposes, I've purchased this gel foam cushion, and it's only around about 25 mil thick. Obviously when you sit on it, it compresses, so it's gel inside, and it's got a cover on. So there you've got a gel mat inside, so that doesn't really get damaged by water, and obviously the cover needs taking off and drying out or washing. So what I tend to do is, before I put the seat in, to be honest, but I will just slide this under, I put the gel seat on the floor first, and then I put the kayak seat on top, and what that does, it stops the seat sliding around when you're entering the kayak, so it doesn't slide forward or backwards. Now the thing with this, once you're in the kayak, so you've boarded the kayak and you've sat yourself down, you may find that it's not 100% in the correct position. Now at the moment the backrest is leaning forward, so the beauty of this, rather than sort of having a rubber thing on the ground or Velcro where you've literally attached the seat, is you can just reach down, grab the mat underneath and slide it forward a bit, and then get your correct seating position for your paddle. It also serves another purpose. It's a cushion from the base to the seat, and what I found when I was using this particular pad, I did I think a 12 miler down in on the Basingstoke Canal, and I didn't get out, and my backside was still numb, but it was nowhere near as numb as if I hadn't had this gel seat underneath. So it's very, very handy for slightly longer trips. Right, let's get out. Now, on top of that, what I have done, but I haven't tried out yet, is I bought this other memory foam seat. So I've got the gel one on the bottom, and then I can place this one on top. It's nowhere near as high as the booster cushion that they supply with the kayak. It's probably around about just over 50 mil, and it will, again, because it's memory foam, it will compress. So that can go on the seat. In I get, and down I go. So yes, I'm raised slightly, but I'm not as high as with the booster seat, and that is really comfortable. Obviously you're losing a bit of height on your backrest, but it's still more or less up to halfway up my shoulder blade. So again, that's got to be tested, so I will get back to you on one of my paddles on that score. Right, let's get out. Another question I've been asked of recent, and this is not just about the Bluewave glider, this can be any one of the drop stitch kayaks of this design and this length, is the seating position for a solo paddler. Well, I've tried and tested it over the years, and what I did find, I did try to place the seat into the center position, which would be sort of here to there, yeah, so it would be more up here, and I found maneuvering extremely difficult, control of the kayak extremely difficult. So what I've done, my position is now moved back. It's taking the top D-ring where the rear paddler would have his front of his seat attached, and then it's coming down onto what would be the rear paddler's footrest, yeah, and I find that the absolute ideal position for maneuvering and controlling the kayak, basically. The only issue there is that obviously now what you're doing, you're putting all your weight further to the back, which means that the kayak could raise at the front. So what I tend to do, my heavier dry bags, anything heavy, gets loaded underneath the front spray deck to try and counter. It works okay even if I've not got too much, maybe a couple of dry bags, you know, with electronics, my camera equipment, extra clothes and whatever. But if I'm camping or something like that, it's absolutely ideal. I mean, I've been on an overnight wild camp where I've carried something like 15 to 20 kilograms, maybe even more. I mean, I've had 30 kilograms in total, and that going to the front more or less balanced me out because I'm not going completely to the rear. Obviously, the more equipment you're loading in, the further to the rear you go. The best position is obviously to steer from the rear, but it's not practical on a kayak this length solo. So that is the seating position I find absolutely perfect. Other questions that have cropped up over the year. How do you keep your kayak clean? Well, I'm mainly on rivers, mainly non-tidal rivers. So more or less as soon as I come off the river, raining, sun, anything, sleet or snow, I wash the kayak down. What I do, I carry an 8-litre hand pumped pressure washer. Starts off in the morning with warm water. If I come back later and it's cold, fair enough. And what I do, it's only 40 psi. I spray the kayak down to get any algae or foreign bodies off, and then I just give it a quick wipe down. So it's not completely cleaned, but literally I'm washing off what I've taken out of that river. I'm not transferring that to another river or whatever. Generally speaking, if I can do it as soon as possible, the kayak comes out, I have a 100 psi 12 volt pressure washer, and I hose it down and give it a thorough clean with just warm water. I don't use any detergent at all. There's no scrubbing it because you're going to destroy the PVC and the UV coating. So the main thing is to really get it done as soon as you can, and fortunately I have the time, a lot of the time, to do it the next day, get it dry, get it packed away. Next question. I actually wish I'd written these down because I'm trying to think of them as I go. I was actually asked, and this is going to sound like a stupid question, and I laughed when I was asked it, but you know, can you paint your kayak? Now, there is PVC paints out there for boats, for ribs and the rest of it. So I suppose this is basically the same. So there's no reason why, if you really felt you had to, you could paint it. Now, what I'm saying, I've had this 2.5 years. On the first outing, I ended up with some marks down the side. For some reason, I went silly, tried to wash them off. It's going to get marked if you use it. I'm not talking about abusing it, but if you use it, it will get scrapes and bangs, and that is just part of the course. If you want it to be in perfect condition, leave it in the box. It's just, and if you paint it, I mean, say for argument's sake, I said, oh, I'd like this army green camo, and I did it. As soon as I roll into a canoe platform or, you know, scrape along a bank, it's just going to take that paint off. This is not painted on, this red, and nor is the grey. That's impregnated into the PVC. So the paint will it will look awful after a couple of weeks. So yes, the answer is yes, you can paint it. Just try and look after it as best you can. Your biggest enemy with this will be mould, and that's why it needs to be cleaned quite quickly and all the areas checked and dried correctly. The marks, they're just battle scars, just like we get as we get older. Okay, another question that has been cropping up for the last 2 years is quite heavily debated online as well, and everybody's got their own opinion. This is my opinion. What skeg to use? The Kayak, and all the kayaks of this design come with a 9-inch skeg. Excuse me saying it in inches, I can't remember what it is in millimetres. I've found right from the word go that on most of the rivers I go on, which are non-tidal, being the Medway, the Store, the Rother, Basingstoke Canal and places like that, in parts, especially in the summer, they can be extremely shallow. They could be shingle, it can be mud, which would be horrible if you get this stuck in the mud, and or even rock. So I found very, very quickly I needed to swap this out. I carry it with me, and I do carry it in the bag, but I'll explain more about that in a minute. So what I did, I also own an Ituit kayak, which is a Decathlon's own make, and that comes with 3 skegs, which are 3.5 inches long. So what I did, I had a spare. It slots in. It's not the same length, but it does slot in, and the locking pin goes in place. And I found that absolutely perfect for most of the non-tidal rivers I go on. So after about a year of mainly being on non-tidal rivers and a couple of canals, I went on to Loch Lugnig. I was up in Scotland. I did Loch Lugnig, Loch Lomond. Oh, there was loads. Loch Ard, Loch Con, and I put the 9-inch skeg on because I thought, well, you know, especially Lomond. Lomond's literally like going to sea, and the weather can change in a second. And I was still struggling to manoeuvre. The only difference was because I was in a large expanse of water, it didn't matter how long it took me to turn. So you get away with it. So what I did then, I swapped it out for the 3.5, and that worked perfect for me. The only time I felt I needed the 9, and I did use it, was when I was on Coniston Water, and I literally was in a storm, and I got beached, and I put it on just to get myself back, just to make sure. So what I've done more recently, I purchased a 9-inch skeg off of, I think it was eBay, and I've not done a great job of this because I've only tried it out once. I've cut it down to 6 inches, and I'm going to actually round all this off, although you don't see it when it's below the water. Again, it slides in and the pin locates, and I'm intending to use that when I'm on the larger lakes now. And one of the main problems when you're on lakes is most of the time you're taking off, you're launching from a beach. And what often happens is you'll push the kayak out and you'll be in very, very shallow water. You'll get, say, 2 meters out, 6-7 feet out, and suddenly it'll just drop to the water's literally up to your chest. And then you cannot even board your kayak. So you really do have a sort of a problem with, you know, getting in, and then you're going back, and then you're struggling to, you get in and the kayak bottoms out. And again, that's where the 3.5 or the 6 comes in. One final note on the skegs before I get off the subject. What I found when the kayak was new was it was a good idea to get some clear silicone grease or something like Vaseline. All that won't work very well in the sun because that will melt, and to put it into the skeg track and on the skeg. That way it will slide in quite nice and easily and lock in, and also come out easily. Also, if you're on a beach, it possibly will keep the sand out from getting into the track and causing the skeg to jam. So it's just a little tip there. The next question is, what paddle do I use? And here we have it. As you can see it in all its glory. I believe it's called the Ituit, I think it's X500 or maybe 100. I'll see if I can find the link and the information and put it in the description below. It's a 2-piece adjustable paddle, and at the moment I've got it set at its max, which is 240 centimeters, but if I open the clip it can drop right down to 225. Obviously pull apart. It's a very, very solid paddle. It is actually quite heavy. Obviously it doesn't start out heavy. but you know it 6 or 7 miles in. But it's been very, very reliable. It's very well made, although I am now looking for a carbon fibre pedal, about sort of 250, 260 centimetre. But I bought this initially with my Ituit because it's got the very large side chambers, and just to be able to get over it, otherwise you was rubbing the paddle on the kayak. But it works out very well for this craft as well. One of the questions I'm getting asked quite a bit of recently, whether it be through private message or via comments on my YouTube videos, is people asking me, are they too old to start kayaking? You know, I'm 55, am I too old? Obviously a lot of people, as you get older, you get more time on your hands, or you want to spend more time doing leisurely activities, and I think that's become very apparent having gone through 18 months of COVID, or 2 years of COVID. I'm in my 64th year, and I used to kayak and canoe and sail quite a bit in my teens, but I refound this hobby back in 2016, 2017, along with wild camping, hiking. All I can say is basically, you just got to take it at your own pace. You know, is it a race? I mean, if you want to go slalom and you're 55 and you've not done nothing for years, I'd say go and get checked out beforehand, because I couldn't do it. I wouldn't want to do it. I go for a leisurely paddle to be at one with nature, and I film and I take breaks. I stop for cups of tea, make myself cups of tea. I'm regularly stopping to take photographs, so I'm sort of taking nice rest breaks and then I'm paddling on. So yes, I may do a 12-mile, 16-mile paddle, but in the summer I'm out on the water at 5:30 in the morning and I'm off the water by 2 in the afternoon. I make sure I leave myself ample time to complete my task. Now, another thing you can do in your more mature years is just try and make life easier for yourself. For example, I carry a kayak trolley on the vehicle. Last Saturday I was putting at a place called Tisin. From the car park to the actual lock was round about 200 yards, 200 metres, say, across a field. So I don't carry the kayak down. I do load it onto the kayak trolley. Everything can go in at the back, so you're treating it like a wheelbarrow. You put the weight over where the trolley is, and I dragged it down. Still a little bit of hard work, but a damn sight easier than carrying this thing down and then all the dryer bags, etc., etc. So you could just make your life easier. Yes, it takes a little bit longer. You know, drag the kayak down there, take the kayak trolley off, load the kayak trolley onto the kayak. Take your time, enjoy yourself. It's all part of the experience. Another tip, and I've had this since day one, since I had my first inflatable back in 2016, is I bought myself, it happens to be an Ituit one because the first kayak was an Ituit, a 12-volt electric pump. Now, I can inflate my kayak, I can set it up to inflate because this inflates to 10 psi, and I can pour a cup of tea, or I can start sorting out my other stuff. I have a lower back problem, had it for years, it's reoccurring. It's all to do with decades, 4 or 5 decades of judo and jiu-jitsu, all the throw-in and whatever. It's self-inflicted, but basically it comes back very, very quickly, even by trying to pump this up by hand. If I start going up and down with the pump, what's the point in starting out on the river with your back killing you, and then you're going to go and do 4.5 miles that way and 4.5 miles back in one position? You've got to make life easier for yourself. So I always take this with me. I have got a hand pump that I carry on the kayak, so obviously if there's an issue when I'm out, I can re-inflate if necessary, and I've got my repair patches. I also carry this, but this is very expensive. I mean, these are a few £100, and it's a power generator, but I don't only use it for this. I use it for camping and all sorts, inflating my air tent. I use it for running electrical gadgets in my tent, recharging all my stuff. So, but I do carry it with me, so I can, if necessary, carry the kayak away from the vehicle, so I have a 12-volt source, and then I can load this on the kayak in a dry bag and take it with me, rather than carry it all the way back to the car. So I'm just making my life easier. The way I look at it, when I first bought that first inflatable kayak and I inflated it, my back was killing me, and then I went out for a 7-mile paddle and I couldn't walk for 2 days. And I thought to myself, what is the point? Start off as fit as you can when you get in this to paddle and enjoy yourself. So, How's the kayak performing 2.5 years in? Well, in 2021, after we got out the national lockdown, I got out and did a fair bit of kayaking. I've probably now clocked up about 300 odd hours in this kayak, no more than that. I spent a week in Cumbria, up in the lakes, kayaking on Windermere and on Coniston Water. Coniston Water, I literally got caught in a really, really bad storm. Very, very strong winds, basically gale force. Kayak held up brilliantly. I mean, it was scary, but it wasn't the kayak, you know, it was me trying to deal with the conditions, but it's done. So it proved itself to be very, very proficient out in bad weather. I didn't intend to go out in it, weather changes so quickly. I then went on to Scotland and I kayaked on Loch Lomond. Again, I got caught in a bit of a storm. The kayak performed perfectly, and then I went on to 2-3 other lochs. Absolutely fantastic. More recently, or last weekend, hence that's why I've got it out now and cleaning it up, I was out on the Medway, covered in debris, diesel oil, thick mud, strong winds, -1. Absolutely no problem at all. It is an absolutely brilliant kayak. This is probably the last full-on review I'll do on this, although if you go back over some of my videos where I've been using this kayak over the last couple of years, I've always sort of mentioned things as I've been paddling, you know, the skegs, the performance and whatever. So feel free to go over some of my videos, not just for the, you know, I'm in the middle of a loch and it's beautiful, but there is always some form of information. I'm always reviewing as I'm going along and sort of letting people know what I think of the kayak and its condition. But I'm very, very impressed. I am now, or I have got on order, I've got a single hybrid kayak, so that'll be interesting. Within the next couple of weeks I'll get out in that and obviously start reviewing that. This one I'll continue to use it when I'm carrying more gear, when I'm kayak camping, or when I'm going out with obviously two up. But what I'm actually thinking of doing is for the day paddles, I'll probably go out on the hybrid single kayak, and it's lighter, it's just easier going. So anyway, right, let's get this packed away and then I'm going to show you the bag. Right, I've got the kayak folded up. It's not completely folded properly, I've just got to twig it a bit, but what I wanted to show you was it in its folded state. And as you can see, I also use a 50mm by 2m strap to hold it all in place before I put it in the bag. But what I want to point out is this, if I move forward, on the bow there. Now the bow and the stern have got the plastic shaped pieces on them, and what you will find if you run up to a slipway or you run aground on heavy gravel, you will start to tear into the material. So what I do, not necessarily carry it with me, but I have a roll of Gorilla Tape, and that's more or less due for replacing. I did run aground the other day, so every so often I just pull 2 layers of that Gorilla Tape off, clean off the glue, and I recover it with 2 pieces. I scraped up the other day, so that's bit's in a bit of a mess, but it sort of saves the actual craft itself. Well, there you go. There's the kayak packed away. Not the best job I've done. I actually know on the next trip out that I'm literally going to be just opening up and inflating by the car, so I don't need to carry it. So I've not really found the need to cinch all the straps down or cinch the kayak down inside. The bag is absolutely enormous. The kayak's in there. I know for a fact that all of the equipment that Bluewave supply with the kayak fits into the bag with ample room, tons of room left over, but obviously I customized it for what I need. So I've got the pump. I've not put the power generator in there because that needs charging, but I've got my BA, my buoyancy aid, the kayak, all those cushions, skegs, towel, I've got my kayak shoes, and loads of bits, just loads of bits thrown in there that I know that I will need. The paddles, unfortunately these paddles don't fit in. The 4 section ones that the Bluewave supply with the kayak, obviously they easily go in there, but these are too long, so all I do is I strap them on the outside with another one of those 50mm by 2m straps. But I said the bag is enormous. The kayak's ending there. There's literally, I could fit another 40-50 litres of equipment in there. Obviously then the weight goes up. At the moment with the stuff I got in there, it's probably knocking on at about 22-23 kilo. And I said you've got cinching straps absolutely everywhere all around the bag. Got backpack straps, quite comfortable. I did actually carry it for a bit on the last trip out. Now I will be honest, Bluewave supplied me this to review. Unfortunately when they contacted me, it was back last May 2021, they didn't have them in stock, and 90% of my trips, like the Scotland one was the big one, I was literally away for 17 days camping and kayaking. I was still using the envelope bag because I bought this kayak well before these bags came out. But what I will say, since I've been using it, it's an absolute godsend. Even though I don't really wheel it much. I did wheel it on the last trip out as well. It's got very good robust wheels on it, so you can actually drag it along. It's got a side carry handle, so you can carry it like a suitcase, although it's very heavy. Backpack straps, as I said, it's got literally everything. It's a very well thought out bag, absolutely massive. I think I could fit in it. But yes, I'm very impressed with that. And in fact, the new kayak I'm ordering is from another company. It comes with a terrible bag, so I will probably go online and actually purchase another one of these bags for that single hybrid kayak that I'm buying. As I said, they weren't out in 219, 220 when I ordered my one, but they now sell them separately online. I did look the other night, so you can buy these. I think they're just under £50, 46, maybe £49, can't quite remember, but I think that's really good value. They're also on Amazon, but under Bluewave. So if you've got quite a large kayak and a terrible bag, I can really highly recommend this bag. But as I said, at the moment it's looking a bit trashy because I've not, if I knew I was going to have to carry or even wheel the kayak, I would have really tightened it up a lot more and put it in. I literally put it in as you see it on the last clip on the floor. But very impressed. Be able to keep all your stuff in one place, knowing that everything's there as well, is an absolute godsend. Right, well that's about it for this video. So obviously I've given you an update on the Bluewave glider itself, and hopefully some of the tips and tricks and just the general chat has been quite helpful, especially for newbies or people coming back into the hobby after many years out. Summer's coming, spring's coming, summer, so obviously everybody will be out and about soon and enjoying themselves. So you enjoy yourself out on the water, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.